Alright, hello everybody and welcome to the final round of LSR Group 2 action here in Abu Dhabi. Of course, we've got a finale going right down to the wire, if my math is right. I'm still pulling up the standings myself. But at least on the constructor side, everything is fully wrapped up. Alpine have secured that championship. But we got a drivers' showdown between a number of drivers, really. 4 drivers still in it with a chance going into the final round. Kendrick's, though, in the driver's seat with a 21-point lead over his teammate of Stragasaur. But full qualifying today, so we'll get plenty of laps of action, plenty of time on track as we determine who the Season 9 champion will end up being. Again, should be a very interesting one, good as well, to have all 20 drivers who will be participating in this one on the grid and ready to go here for Q1. But unlike a lot of weekends, this is our second full qualifying round of the season. So 18-minute Q1, 15-minute Q2, and 12-minute Q3 with the top 10 shootout there. Again, same rules as before. 3 points for pole, 2 points for starting second, 1 point for starting third. So for the chasing drivers, those trying to take the fight to Kendricks of Ollie Jelly, Stragasaur, and Guardian Knight, lots in it for that to be decided. And Ollie Jelly, of course, first out on track as of right now. You're probably going to only see 1 or 2 runs from a lot of the top drivers here in qualifying, but track limits definitely something to keep an eye out for around this lap, as drivers, of course, going to be pushing for every inch. And we'll stay with the McLaren of Ollie Jelly, who, of course, currently sits third in the driver's standings as he runs down into turn 1. Short run, no DRS here into turn 1. Only other circuit like that on the calendar is Silverstone. And, of course, you got this little S's here of 2 and 3 at the pit lane exit there on the left. A little kink into 4, and then, of course, you got the hard hairpin of turn number 5. Really important to carry as much speed through here as possible and get on the power nice and early to get a run down the first of 2 long DRS straights. Again, probably the second best overtaking opportunity is this first one, as you run into the chicanes of turn number 6 and 7, trying to get it slowed all the way down, and especially on the exit. Really important to be careful on that throttle. You'll see cars drop in the back end, but then you blast down into this long, you got this little kink, which I guess we'll call kind of turn number 8, and then you got the long turn 9, which of course used to be that very fiddly chicane. Now, great overtaking spot, as you can hang it down the inside, you can hang it around the outside, and have a really good shot. And of course, you got triple right here, 10, 11, slow it down for 12. 13 and 14, very challenging as that rear end really wants to kick out on you. As you can see that rear end sliding just that little bit, but Ollie Jelly doing a nice job to keep it under control. Coming into the final 2 corners now, of course, you got pit lane entry there on the right. Ollie Jelly around the final corner to set the first lap of this qualifying session, a 24.447 for the McLaren driver. His teammate of Viperize on a lap as well. He'll be second across the line. Of course, we've seen 9 different race winners this season, and Viperize goes even further to the top. He goes a second clear of his teammate, so Ollie Jelly, perhaps not with the greatest first lap, or perhaps leaving a little bit extra fuel in that car to take an extra go with things. ONFC 24-0 for VCarb, also known as Racing Bulls. We've got Stragasaur, meanwhile, coming through the final couple of corners as he looks to put a championship challenge toward his teammate. He'll come to line 28-0, so a little bit of a back-off probably there from him. Mercedes coming to the line behind him, I believe is just starting a lap. So nothing there. Abney okay there in that Aston Martin on an out lap. We'll try to jump to that Haas making his way through Sector 3. That is Gabby Cho, who, again, seemingly pretty comfortable, doing a nice job, still holding on to that back end, a little bit wide there, and is going to invalidate. That's a place where we could see a lot of track limits issues, as that track really just kind of falls away. That kind of second part of that double left-hander kind of has the kind of reverse camber where, or is, cambered, so that you lose a lot of grip there on the outside. Void Dawson 26.4, and Ollie Jelly goes faster. So yeah, Ollie Jelly taking that extra lap to heat up his tires. He's going to pick up 0.8 on his second go. 23.6 from him. And of course, bottom 5 all dropped here in Q1. Seo, meanwhile, out on a set of mediums. He's coming to the line for Haas, and he's going to lose that back end big time. So it's only going to be a 26.7 from him. Strakazor, meanwhile, over 2 seconds up, and he's going to, lose the back end slightly there too. He is significantly up, but just gets on the power, I think, that little bit too soon. It's going to cost him a little bit, and it will put him fourth, though, so 24.657. But that may require an extra go of things. DeChal, meanwhile, 24.9. We'll stick with Avni OK then, as he's coming around. Of course, the car behind him, as you can see there at the bottom of your screen, is Emre Chetan on an out lap. Here comes Avni round the final corner into the line, and he'll go third quickest, so a 23.8 from the Aston Martin. Certainly throwing a wrench in a number of drivers' plans. Gabicho diving into the pits here, and we got a bit of a traffic jam working through Sector 3. Is being led currently by the Red Bull of Boaks. You can see the Ferrari behind him. I don't know whether that's Speedy Gunner or Formula Jonah. But here comes Boaks around the final corner into the line. And it's not going to be great from him either. 26.8. Here comes the Ferrari behind the line. No time set from him. Again, just trying to keep an eye, see if any extra times go on that board. But it doesn't seem that they have. Is Void Dawson, I think, getting set up for a lap. Meanwhile, Pancakes coming around the final couple of corners for Williams. So Dawson's teammate, can he do anything to jump up the order? He'll go 6th fastest. So comfortable lap there from him. That's Speedy Gunner, apologies, is going to go slightly quicker, 24.673. Strakazor, meanwhile, that 24.657 continues to look better. He'll dive into the pits as well. So next to the line on a lap, I believe, actually, that would not be Emre Chetan. That might be DeChal. Can you change it to tires, please? Yes, I can. So that you can get an idea of who all has taken what tires. Speedy, DeChal, Seo, and Stratting currently all opting for mediums here in this first qualifying stint. Bartu, meanwhile, gonna retire from the session, so he is eliminated in Q1. So it'll be now the 4 slowest times all dropped. Number of drivers coming out. Formula Jonah now making his way through Sector 3. Little bit of a slide there, but Jonah has had a fairly impressive season up there with Kendricks for those who have not had the most successful seasons, but have still been very good, and that's Formula Jonah going 6th fastest. Stratting, meanwhile, was getting, I think, set up for a lap there and lost the back end and actually has damage. So Stratting a little bit too happy on the power there. Does have front wing damage. So man who we've seen sit pole numerous times loses that lap there, as we saw him spin at the final corner right in front of Formula Jonah. But 9 minutes left to go in the session. Owen surprisingly out on a push lap, as he seems to have fitted a fresh set of soft tires. So certainly an interesting decision there. But we've seen just how tight this field is throughout a large part of the season. So that could be very interesting as to how this continues. Emre Chetan, of course, that yellow flag is for him being out of fuel. And I don't believe anybody else on a significant lap as it stands. Avni OK, surprisingly, heading out for a second lap. So it's another driver out there. And yeah, Owen is pushing down 0.2 on his first lap. Formula Jonah, we'll see if he takes another swing. No, the Ferrari will dive into the pits. Again, 6th, I think very comfortable if you are Jonah. Decent gap to the front, though. So we'll see if any driver can manage to close that. DeChal, I think, one of the few drivers currently on a lap in anger. Rostamol and Gabicho, who of course currently sit 18th and 19th by virtue of not having a time left going into the hairpin at turn number 5. So we'll jump to them in a moment's time, but we'll stay on board with the Mercedes. again, I think just doing everything he can to hold on to as many sets of softs as possible, try and give him the best starting spot possible, but he's going to run a little bit wide there in the back half of Sector 3, and there goes that lap time. Meanwhile, Kendricks looking to try and secure back-to-back Group 2 Drivers' Championships on an out lap, looking to potentially give his teammate a little bit of assistance. We'll jump to him in a second, but Gabicho on a lap as well. Actually, Strakasaur on an out lap as well, so we'll stick with the Haas, currently trying to get himself out of the drop zone. Guardianite also getting underway, so we'll jump to the Turk challenging for the championship. Gabicho running a bit wide there, but no invalidation. Managed to keep the game from doing that. And here comes Gabicho, though, into the final corner. Where will he go? He'll go only 11th. Rostamol behind him coming to the line. Where will he go? He will go 12th. So not stellar times from Gabicho or from Rostamol. But as it stands, it would be enough to get them just about through into Q2. Guardian Knight, meanwhile, underway, as is Kendrick. So we'll keep an eye on the Sauber and the Alpine, who, of course, currently sit in the drop zone. Strakasaur up there in 7th, also on a lap as well, so keep an eye on his lap time. Guardian getting a little bit of slipstream off that Williams ahead of him, but coming into this that long left-hander, that little bit of banking on that as well, which can make that outside that little bit more viable. Of course, triple right, got to be careful here if you aren't running ABS to not lock up. Of course, Group 2 allowing a little bit more assist, and then you got this off-camber double left. Again, very important to try and get that, be as careful with the throttle on that as possible. And here comes Guardian into the final couple of corners. Again, trying to get himself out of the drop zone. He'll go 9th quickest with a 24.7 flat, so a solid lap time from him. But will that be enough is the question. Kendricks, meanwhile, making his way through the final couple of corners, and he is invalidated. So Kendricks, I think, potentially getting set up for another push lap. Strakasaur behind him will not improve immediately either. So Kendricks, certainly some work to do to get into safety. Stratting, meanwhile, he's on an out lap. He's on that same set of medium compound tires, trying to get underway as he starts his push to get out of the drop zone. But yeah, currently Boak's 26.868 is the difference. Speedy Gunner jumps up into P6, leapfrogging both his teammate of Formula Jonah and the Alpine of Strakasaur. So good work from him early. Emery Chetin, meanwhile, a 10th down through Sector 1. See if anything happened to him in Sector 2. He's lost another 10th there in Sector 2. We'll see how much he continues to push here. Yellow flag behind is for the Sauber, I think, giving away to one of the Williams cars. But Boakes is on a push here down there into Sector 2. Stratting, meanwhile, he's on a push, as is Kendricks, who's working his way through Sector 3. So we'll jump to the championship leader temporarily here as he looks to make his way through the end of the lap. Viper is saying Kendricks is on a good lap right now. Of course, missed it until now, and Kendricks looking strong coming through the final corner, 22, 23, and it's going to be a 24-0. That's a great lap from Kendricks to jump up into P4. Strakasaur coming to the line behind him and still does not improve. So Strakasaur not able to catch his teammate, and so that means it makes it advantage Kendricks. Kendricks realistically only has to finish 7th as Stratting goes 3rd fastest. That's a stellar lap time on a set of mediums, as Owen does not believe he will improve, so he'll retire from the session as we cross under 4 minutes left to go. Eric, too fast for you, meanwhile. One of the few drivers without a lap time on the board yet in that Aston Martin. Boakes getting a reset before getting underway. Void Dawson on an out lap, trying to give himself maybe a little bit extra time in case he invalidates. Viperize as well will retire. He believes he is safe, and with that 23-4, certainly cannot blame him here. Dawson underway. Boakes getting underway now. And of course, both Haas cars going to be in danger of being dropped. And if you're Dachal as well, you are slightly up in Sector 1 and getting a little bit of a tow off that Haas out in front. As you come down into the chicane in the middle of this long straightaway. But blasting out now will stay with him until he reaches that Sector 2 timing marker. But if you're Ditchall, you're certainly not fully safe here, as he's up 5/10 now. So picked up a lot of time through that chicane, and I think a little bit as well off that Haas, but he's going to invalidate. He's going to run wide through that long left-hander, and now Ditchall certainly a danger, and he's got a lot more pace. Void Dawson has picked up a second and a half through 2 sectors. Vokes is on a push. He's down 3/10 through Sector 1. He looks to be recharging, though, as Eric Too Fast For You jumps up into safety. He'll go second quickest. That pushes Gabicho down into the drop zone, as Eric Too Fast For You splits the McLarens with a stellar lap time. Vokes, meanwhile, again, not on a push lap. Here comes Dawson through the final couple of corners. Formula Jonah thinks he could need an extra lap there in P10, as Dawson jumps up into 13th, so joins his teammate on what would be the 7th row of the grid, should we just have one qualifying session. But quick reminder, if you are joining us, we do have full qualifying for today's race. So right now, both Haas's, both Red Bulls at risk of going out here in Q1. Folks will get an extra lap in, but if you are starting laps now, it's going to be your final shot. Gabicho up 3.5 through Sector 1 as he's working through Sector 2. But if you're on a push lap now, it's your final opportunity to get anything on the board. Gabicho, 8/10 now through 2 sectors. Can't keep it within track limits. You can see that rear end just sliding that little bit, but keeps it under control very nicely. And so this is going to put Ditchall at risk. This will put the Williams at risk. This could even put Guardian Knight in P12 at risk. But Gabicho runs wide there and invalidates that lap through the back part of Sector 3. He'll have another chance of potentially trying to improve that time, but he's going to be low on ERS now, so it's going to be a big challenge for Gabicho to try to jump up. He put in a 24-1, which would have put him up the Ferraris of Speedy and Jonah. Vokes, meanwhile, working his way through Sector 3. He's only picked up a 10th through 2 sectors, so we'll have to see if he had a bunch of mistakes at points in that lap, and see if that'll make a difference. As here comes Vokes through the final sector. Was he able to find any time? Ditchall, the driver at risk, got to be at a 24.8, and Vokes will not do it. He'll start 19th, 26.4 from him, so likely some mistakes earlier on in that lap. Rostamol, meanwhile, matching his time on the dot through that first sector as he tries to make up time. Gabicho, of course, still pushing. Sayao still pushing. Ditchall still pushing, but is down in that first sector. So again, at serious risk. Can any of the drivers in the drop zone unseat Ditchall? Sayao slightly up through 2 sectors as he's working now through Sector 3, keeping it very tight there. Gonna have to get these final corners right. Here he comes past this camera, and 2 corners left to go. Can Sayao punch his ticket into Q2 through the final corner? A little bit of a lockup on that inside tire, but good exit there to the line. He'll go 12th fastest, so Ditchall in the drop zone. He's out. Gabicho, can he do anything now? Up 2/10 through 2 sectors. Can he potentially join his ass teammate in Q2? He will. He'll jump up to 11th. That pushes Pancakes into the drop zone. Rostamol, really the last car with a chance there, but he will not go quicker. He'll invalidate there. So your drop drivers, Bartu, Katukalan, Vokes, Rostamol, Ditchall, and the Williams of God Pancakes out in Q1 here. And should be a very interesting one in Q2 as well, as a number of drivers with a significant amount of time on the board. So we saw mistakes from both Haas cars lead to some of that being dropped. Of course, you're waiting on Ditchall now to make his way back around. I believe he is out of fuel, which is why he is taking that extra time. Of course, if he's listening, if you could retire or just cross the start-finish line, that would be much appreciated. Stay out, stay out, stay out, stay out, stay out. Okay. So we'll be a slight bit extended here. But that'll be the end of Q1. And it's Viperize on top with what I believe was his only lap here in Q1, 23.4. But Stratting certainly very quick on that set of mediums. And on a short run down to turn 1, we've seen how Stratting has struggled a lot off the line in this season. But I think the question is, especially with it being a short run down to turn 1, with him holding on to some sets of soft compound tires, could that make the difference? I think also something to note, Guardian Knight down there in 14th. If he's looking to put a championship challenge together to Kendricks, who currently is 7th after that first session. Certainly a lot to consider there. But top 10 separated by 7/10. So if you're in 11th through 15th, something really to consider. You've got to really find some extra pace here. But yeah, your drop drivers, the Canadian of Pancakes, the 2 Englishmen of Dechal and Rostamol, the Hungarian of Bokes, and the Turk of Bartu. Guardian remembered he has a Q ban and didn't do the last run Q1. Ah, gotcha. But that will take us into Q2. So we'll have to wait and see here as to what happens. 15 drivers, 15 minutes. And we'll have to see what happens here. I think if you got a favorite at this point, I think you got to be looking at one of the McLarens or Stratting. Strakasaur saying rain in the forecast in the race. So that's certainly interesting. So we could see some intermediate running here at Abu Dhabi. Rostamol looks to be one of the first drivers looking to get underway. As you can see that Mercedes taking the tires off, as are both McLarens looking to jump out of the pits. So once again, I believe it will be a McLaren leading the way. Actually, no, it'll be one of the V-Carbs. Actually, both V-Carbs out as well. 5 cars, very close nose to tail. It'll be Owen leading us out here as everybody comes through that underpass and back out onto the track. We'll pull the tires back up as well, so that way everybody can see. But again, very interesting here. Stratting sticking with the mediums. Owen, Jonah, Speedy, and Gabicho also all with medium compound tires set. So a couple of drivers feeling very confident about their pace through one session. So we'll have to see what they can do here. It is Stratting leading the way now. I believe we do have majority of the grid coming out on track. Of course, Stratting doing what he can to get those medium tires up to temperature. And again, should be a very interesting one between a lot of these top drivers. But it does seem that it will be Stratting getting us back underway with the first lap here in Q2. So if you'll allow me a moment, I'll let you sit on board with him and enjoy the sounds of that V-Carb engine as he brings you through a lap of Abu Dhabi. So not a perfect first lap there from Stradings. You can see that little mistake there at the end of Sector 2. And again, what is that very tricky double left-hander? Ollie Jelly, meanwhile, 24.9. He'll go top. Emre Chetin goes even better, though, 23.5 as the first lap time starting to come in. Speedy Gunner, 24.2. Owen, 23.6 was the first flurry of lap times. Hit the tower with just under 11 minutes left to go in the session. Gabicho gets a lap in. He's at 23.7. So expect that top time here in Q2 to fall rather quickly, as a number of drivers putting up competitive times on the medium. Avni OK, of course, on and out lap. Strakasaur, of course, looking to bring the fight to Kendricks. Little bit of a wiggle of the rear end there, but manages to gather it up. Of course, making his way through the final sector, very close to invalidating that lap with track limits. Again, a little bit wiggly on the exit, and only good enough for P7. But I'd imagine that's a setup lap to go again here for that Alpine. Ollie Jelly, again, still pushing through. I believe that was the Haas. That was not the Haas of Gabicho slotting in. That was Seau slotting into a current P6. There's a number of drivers, again, coming around Stratting. Again, struggling to find lap time here, as that should be a used set of medium compound tires on his car. So potentially struggling a little bit for grip here. Avni OK, though, on a lap pushing through Sector 2, as I realized that the lap data was not up, so we'll correct that. Kendricks making his way through the first couple of corners as well in that Alpine. Yeah, Gabicho, of course, currently sitting in third. He'll dive in. Seau heading out. Ollie Jelly diving in as his teammate right behind him. We'll stick with Avni OK's Aston Martin as quickly approaching that Ferrari ahead of him, which will get fully out of the way as the Ferrari as well out of fuel there. Avni coming through the final corner. Of course, had a very good showing there in Q1. Comfortable on the exit there. He'll go fourth quickest, 23.962 there. So good lap time from Avni. Okay, again, bottom 5 dropped from this second qualifying session. And Guardian Knight will not be participating, so it'll be the 4 slowest times at that point. Kendricks, though, making his way through Sector 2, showing up as purple down there on that mini-map. Of course, not a fully accurate representation, as Boakes has disconnected. So I will try to get Boakes back in just a second. Was one of the drivers eliminated here in Q1. Has disconnected. Kendricks, though, the championship leader, coming to the line. Only 8th quickest. 24.590 from him. And that is less than stellar. I will go ahead and try to get Boakes back in. Actually, this is probably the easier way to do it. If you'll allow me 1 second. I do not actually believe I have Boakes added. So we'll try to make sure that Boakes does manage to get back in before the race kicks off. So I'll go ahead and try to get Boakes back in. Again, the good thing is it gives my mouth a brief reprieve. Don't take that out of context. As 1 second. Again, apologies, just some of the challenges of online gaming now and again. As there is a sent invite. Kendricks diving in as a number of drivers getting ready. 4-second push stops. Dawson out. Eric out. Viperize out on a set of mediums. As 1 sec. Again, apologies here. Just trying to make sure that we do get Boaks back in. As I'll try it one more time, and then we'll jump back to see the remainder of Viperize's lap. As here comes Viperize through the final couple of corners, going to go a bit wide there. Of course, Viperize and I sadly getting unlucky in yesterday's Group 1 race due to an early safety car messing with strategy. Viperize, though, 4th quickest here on a set of mediums. I think he can be certainly happy with that time, especially with the number of drivers behind him, also on the medium. But does he have enough time to potentially get a set of softs on and get a better lap time if he feels that he is at risk? Guardian Knight as well, 6th fastest. So certainly interesting there as he's continued. Guardian Knight opened to 6th. Was I under a wrong inclination that... Yeah. Guardian should be quali banned here. So we'll see how that impacts the Drivers' Championship. But Guardian is back out. So certainly interesting development there. As again, apologies, I will get Boaks here. As there is Boaks back. But yeah, again, very interesting with Guardian Knight being back out on track. As again, just waiting for that to come back, and there we go. But yeah, closing stages here in Q2. Strakosaur out on a lap. He is up a second plus, but did invalidate there. Still time for him to potentially box, get a fresh set of tires to give him the best shot at getting into the final qualifying session. Kendricks, meanwhile, only sitting 10th. Or sorry, only sitting 11th. Stratting as well, who looked to be one of the faster drivers through that Q1 session, is up half a second here through 2 sectors. But making his way into Sector 3 now. Again, looking to use a little bit less ARS through this slower speed 3rd sector. Owen thinks he is safe with a 23.6, so he'll retire from the session. Stratting, again, flirting with those track limits there on the outside. Here comes Stratting now through the final sector and to the line. He'll go top of the field. 23.268 from Stratting is your new benchmark. As again, a number of drivers still at risk. Here comes Ollie Jelly. Strakosaur in the pits. He ought to be getting a fresh set of tires on, but he better do it quickly because time is winding down. Seo as well on his way out. Kendricks across the line. He did not improve, but potentially taking a double out lap here. As he tries to get a good lap in, will he have to deal with traffic here on pit lane exit, though? We'll jump on board as there's the Ferrari and the Haas, who managed to stay out of the way. Aston Martin of, I believe that is Eric as well, close in there, but a number of drivers coming out for second laps. And at this point, if you're not out, you're at serious risk of going down here in Q2. And if you're the championship leader, it's very important to get a good lap in right here, right now, with just about a minute and a half left to go. So Void Dawson will be the first to start the official final laps. final flying laps, I should say. Stratting will have another opportunity, but sitting provisional pole, he should be comfortable. Gabicho surprisingly out there, but he feels that times could drop significantly. Formula Jonah and Guardian Knight, surprisingly, opting to stay in the pits here. As with them sitting, 7th and 8th, I think you'd have to say with the number of drivers behind them looking to go out for laps, they're taking a big risk here, not going out for a final push lap. But here comes Kendricks, the championship leader, coming to the line. He'll jump up into P6 with what will likely be his final lap of qualifying. So again, just doing everything he can to secure that driver's championship. Speedy Gunner, and numerous drivers here starting laps. Void Dawson, one of them on laps. He's lost a lot of time there through Sector 2. Or, 2/10 in a lap where you really need 4 is a big difference here as Dawson making his way here through Sector 3. Can he pick up any magic here as he's going to lose the back end there, and he's going to go around. So Void Dawson will be eliminated here in Q2 as he loses the back end there in that back part of Sector 3. He will not be moving on to the top 10 shootout. Time about to expire here. Stratting going to be next across the line, but he's not one of the drivers that we're super interested right now. The one that we'll switch to is the McLaren of Ollie Jelly, up 8/10 through 2 sectors. Currently sets P14. Again, really flirting with those track limits. Potentially got a little bit of assistance from his teammate out in front as well. Viper is going to go to the line in front. He'll go fastest, 23.195. Ollie Jelly to line 23.424. So Ollie Jelly, more than likely, is now safe and will advance. Eric Too Faster, who hasn't validated, he will not advance. Can Speedy Gunner knock Guardian Knight out of qualifying? He will. Speedy Gunner, 4th fastest. The Hasagabicho to the line. He will not improve from 7th. Kendricks, I think, holding up for his teammate potentially. Here comes Strakosaur, 2 seconds up. Formula Jonah here, the one at risk. But one of our championship contenders already out here. Strakosaur through the final corner. Got to have a clean exit here to try and get out. He'll go 4th fastest. So it's Dawson, Sayao, Guardian Knight, Jonah out in Q2. And one of your championship contenders out of contention for any sort of pole. Abney OK will go faster. And Kendricks right there at the border, only 10th. So Kendricks, again, certainly at risk there, but will have a chance to get the best starting position possible as we move into Q3. But your top 3 are Viperize, Stratting, and Ollie Jelly once again. But this time it's Viperize, once again, holding serve over the rest of the field. Yeah, top 10 separated by 6/10 now. So the field staying tight after that Q1 session. And again, should be very, very interesting. Both McLarens, both V-Carbs, both Alpines making it through. But then you get a Ferrari, a Mercedes, a Haas, and an Aston Martin, all with something potentially to say about it. I guess something else to consider is that there are Constructors' Championship standings that could take pretty big swings from this race. Of course, the Drivers' Championship itself has been concluded largely since Belgium, as Alpine with an 87-point lead over second place McLaren. But there's a number of close Constructors' Championship fights. McLaren then has about a 23-point edge back to Racing Bulls. Kick Sauber then, 18 points back, but their qualifying, of course, has gone less than stellar. Ferrari then sits just 6 points behind the Sauber team after a strong start has led to them kind of getting a bit slower as the season has continued, at least from a results standpoint. And then Aston Martin, 14 points back of the rest of the field. Stratting, though, looking to make his way out onto track. As again, into the top 10 shootout we go. I would expect soft tire runners for most of the grid, though surprisingly, Strakosaur and Speedy Gunner opting for what should be a scrubbed set of medium compound tires. So certainly an interesting, little kind of thing in there to consider. Again, we're also expecting changeable conditions here. We're expecting the rare changeable conditions, I should say, here at Abu Dhabi. Though I guess certainly not rare enough, if even in real life. We're getting some intermediate tire running at Bahrain testing like we did this year. Of course, the actual F1 season kicking off in 2 weeks, just like with LSR. We intend to with season number 10, which again, keep an eye out for some of the more formal announcements on that. But yeah, LSR looking to get underway with season 10 in just 2 weeks' time, looking to roll right into a final season. But once again, it'll be the V-Carb getting underway. Coming down here into turn number 5. It's comfortable. Lap time there from Stratting. So again, I'll pull back up the lap data so that way you can see exactly what those lap times are as we make our way here through Sector 2. Stratting, though, going to give way to his teammate. So we'll jump to Owen. And of course, the season's been very interesting as well from start to finish. Over the 11 rounds we've had so far, 9 different race winners. The only repeat winners, I believe, being Ali Jelly and Strakasaur. But certainly been a little bit chaotic. Certainly pretty well balanced as well. But still plenty that could happen here in the final session, but largely depends on the Alpine of Kendricks. But Owen going to be setting the first bar here in the final qualifying session at the 23.4 from Stratting's V-Carb teammate. Which, of course, was Alcoholic Husky for a large part, for the first part of the season. But Owen this time takes advantage. Ollie Jelly 23.897, Speed Gunner 24.728 as the first time lap times start to hit the screen. Strakasaur 27.7, Kendricks second quickest 23.615 as a man who just barely got through into Q2 goes third, but Gabicho heads to the top as if I'm not mistaken, one of your race winners so far this year, 23.310. That's a good lap time there from him. Viperize surprisingly only third quickest from the driver who has topped both of the first 2 qualifying sessions. Of course, Track Evolution in full quali certainly and going to make an impact. Avni OK would have had a 24.0, but seems to have invalidated at some point. That would have put him just 6th quickest. We'll see if he pushes through to get an extra lap in. Stratting, though, on a push lap, as everybody else, I'd imagine, on a little bit of a cooldown. As here comes Stratting, making his way through the final sector. Solid exit there, going to run very wide-eyed, but again, manages to deal with those track limits. Yellow and flag in Sector 3 is for his teammate who seems to be out of fuel behind him, but Stratting around the final corner to the line, only 5th quickest, surprisingly. So Stratting potentially leaving something in the tank here. Of course, those softs probably a little bit more scrubbed than, probably Stratting holding on to a set. As Kendricks remains 4th quickest. He'll dive into the pits. Strakasaur going out for a second push lap on those mediums. Ollie as he goes a 23.895. So the only driver realistically with a lap in anger would be Avni OK, who of course had that 24.0. But the Aston Martin out of fuel now. So everybody looking to dive into the pits here and potentially get a final lap. Only driver out trying to put a lap on the board in anger. Emre Chetan in the Mercedes, as well as potentially Strakasaur. Stratting also surprisingly out, but he has invalidated, so we'll see if he goes again. I'd imagine he's going to dive into the pits here with 6 minutes left to go. Straxor as well, down a second and a half, so it doesn't seem to be fully pushing. And Emery, solid exit there through the chicane. Again, just looking at a replay of the entry. Actually did a nice job at kind of managing that. A little bit of counter steer as he made his way through the back half. But again, managing that nice banked corner pretty well. I almost said managing that nice banked corner nicely. So you can tell my mouth already starting to get a little bit tired as we approach 5 minutes left to go here in qualifying, and Emery Cheddon going to invalidate that lap there. And will dive into the pits. So that's 10 cars now, all diving into the pits. And so we'll have a brief break here as all of our drivers get set for their final laps here of qualifying. There's still plenty to go. But yeah, brief break here as the track falls silent. But again, I think if you're talking about pole position, I think you still got to favor the likes of Stratting, Viperize, and Ollie, as they've been consistently top three. But it seems that Emery Cheddon going to get out here early, as the Mercedes already making his way out. 4 minutes left to go in the session, trying to maybe give himself some extra time to make sure that he gets a lap on the board. But it's Gabicho, Owen, and Viperize currently who'd be picking up those extra points. But if he likes the Straxor and Ollie Jelly, those points are going to be ever crucial and will determine where Kendricks would have to finish. I believe that as of right now, because what is the gap? The gap is 21 to Straxor. So if Straxor takes pole, he would have to outscore Kendricks by 18 points in order to try and take the Drivers' Championship. So that would require a first-place finish from Straxor and Kendricks to finish no better than, I believe, 7th? So he would have to finish 7th or worse with the Straxor win. Or Straxor has to finish P2. Or Straxor would have to take pole, finish P2, and have Kendricks not score any points in that situation. So if Kendricks finishes above, or I guess for what's in Kendricks' control, he would have to finish P6 or better with a, P6 or better with a Straxor pole. But I believe just P8 generally. Better than, doing math in my head, but Kendricks having to finish better than P8, so 7th or higher, in order to fully confirm himself as Drivers' Champion, no matter what else happens in this race. But Emery, 17.5 through the first sector. May also pick up a little bit of tow from the V-Carbs and the McLaren out in front of him. Again, only driver out on a lap with 2 minutes left to go in the session. You can see a number of drivers there looking to get those tires up to temperature before they start their laps. As here comes Emery, working his way through the chicane now. Everybody, I'd imagine, going to dive out of the way before Sector 3. And also doesn't want to give the Mercedes too much of a tow. As here he goes down the inside of one V-Carb. Coming up to the McLaren and second V-Carb, who again, still pushing here, but that'll be one McLaren pulling off to the side. As Kendricks, Gabicho underway with final laps here in qualifying. Here comes Emre through the final couple of corners now. I believe that is Owen out in front, who is going to have to keep pushing here to make sure that he gets a solid first lap time there. But Emre Chetin coming to the line. Where will Emre go? He'll go pole, 23.297 from the Mercedes, as that's a great lap time from him. Will be his final one of the session, but sets a new benchmark for everybody to go chasing after. Gabicho, meanwhile, up over a tenth through 2 sectors, as he looks to continue to fight. So here comes Gabicho around the final couple of corners. Did he invalidate there? He did. So Gabicho was picking up time, as I had a chat pop up. So not enough to improve there. Kendricks taking an extra warm-up lap to get his tires up to temp. Can he do anything to jump up the order? Can Strakazor do the same? Ollie Jelly getting his push underway. Viperize getting a push underway. And it's going to be Stratting leading this chain of cars, about matching his time through the first sector, making his way now through Sector 2, though I believe Owen made a mistake at some point. Stratting, meanwhile, up 4 tenths here. Can he pick up anything through the final sector in order to try and jump a bunch of the rest of the field? Here he comes through this triple right-hander. Speedy Gunner goes top, 23.152, as we have a new challenger for provisional pole. Speedy hasn't been all that close to the top of the field, but manages to put something together here in Q3. Can Stratting say anything about it? He's on a very solid lap here, 21.22 into the 23s. Actually, no, it's a 22.817 from Stratting, as that's a great lap. Here comes the McLaren of Viperize. He'll only go second quickest, 23.0. Owen, 23.1. He'll slot into third. So Gabicho still on a lap. Kendricks up a tenth through 1 sector. Here he comes to that second sector timing marker. He's up a quarter of a second. Ollie Jelly, meanwhile, up 4 tenths on his first lap time. As again, drivers continuing to try to find that little bit of extra pace here. Here comes Ollie Jelly around the final corner. Can Ollie do anything to try and take pole? He'll start second, so that's still a good showing from him and keeps his driver's championship hopes alive. Gabicho to the line. He will not improve. Kendricks coming around the final corner. He was up a quarter of a second through Sector 1. Currently sits 8th. Where will he slot into? He'll slot into 3rd. So Kendricks picking up a point unless Strakazor can do anything about it. Where does Strakazor slot into? I believe he is 10th. So it's going to be, I believe, Stratting on pole, Ollie Jelly second, picking up 2 points, but Kendricks with a great final lap there as it is, and he will pick up an extra point there in qualifying, and that just makes it oh so much harder for drivers to try and pick up that drivers' championship victory. So that all but eliminates Guardian Knight, who now needs 26 points in order to take the Drivers' Championship. So we need a win and fastest lap from pretty far down the field. Ollie Jelly, of course, closing that gap by 1 point. He's now down 22 points to Kendricks. And Strakazor as well, down 22 points to Kendricks. So now wins required by either Strakazor or Ollie Jelly in order for them to become Group 2 champions here in Season 9. Of course, we'll have a short break here as we get ready to get underway with the race. But should be very interesting. But again, brief break here on the grid before we will get underway with, I believe, it's either 29 or 30 laps here at Abu Dhabi. Does very nicely give my mouth a brief moment to rest and make sure it doesn't cramp up. But again, should be an interesting one here for sure. But we are on the grid, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And for the last time in Season 9, we are underway, and it's Stratton getting very bogged down, and Ollie Jelly going to take the lead here into turn number 1 as he gets underway very comfortably, and the field, again, scattering behind them as the drivers making their way through the first couple of corners. Seems to be a fairly clean getaway. Actually, some yellow flags behind, though, as I say that, as a couple of drivers making their way through turns 2 and 3, which can get very tight there. There's a spun Haas. There's damage to one of the Salibers. That's damage to Guardian Knight's car. As Guardian Knight falls down the order there, you can see a piece of green front wing end plate here. Stratton looking around the outside. Ollie Jelly, he'll be braver on the brakes, and he'll go right round the outside and take the lead early here on lap number 1. But of course, still time as yellow flags behind. Again, that's, I think, for the Saliber, Emery Chetin, 10 seconds for corner cutting, as I think he tried to avoid an incident there. But Guardian dropping down the order, but Stratton leads them into, I believe that's turn number 9 this first time round. I guess we'll pull up tires as well. Most of the field opting for the medium compound of tire. Hards for Strankosaur, Abney, and Emre, and that'll bring out a virtual, and we'll get a virtual safety car here. Very early virtual safety car. That is an intentional wreck from Dawson, so that will certainly be punished, especially if that brings out a full safety car, which I think luckily it has not. As luckily it does seem that we will remain under VSC here starting lap number 2. But again, still under virtual safety car here on lap number 2. As Stratton able to retake the lead on lap number 1 after starting from pole. Again, definitely benefiting from that short run down to turn number 1. Again, just waiting to go green again. Of course, a number of drivers going to have to be careful to make sure that they don't get drive-through penalties for exceeding that delta time. As we are back under green, DRS enabled, and we are comfortably back under green. 2 drivers did choose to box during that VSC, Jonah and Sayal. We're underway here with lap number 2, largely where we just finished up lap 1, so a bit of a rolling restart here, and it seemed to be good jumps for Stratton and Ollie. But Kendrick's, of course, back there in 4th, just kind of keeping with this lead pack. And that's all Kendricks really has to do. Again, 22 points is the gap from Ollie to Kendricks. So Kendricks at this point needs to finish 8th or better. Actually, no, better than, or 8th or better if Ollie Jelly does not pick up the fastest lap point. Which, of course, will fall briefly here. I assume it'll be set the following lap. But 8th or better if Ollie Jelly does not pick up fastest lap. He'll have to finish 7th or better if Ollie Jelly does pick up the fastest lap and the win. So again, something to keep an eye on there. Strakosor as well, they're in P8. Again, just kind of on the fringes as of right now. Still plenty that could happen as we're only on lap number 3 of 29. But again, going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think Kendricks as well, surprisingly, not opting for the soft to hard strat that we've seen a lot. Of course, tire wear here is definitely a big factor, as those hards are very strong tires. Here comes Ollie Jelly looking around the outside here into turn number, All right, Stratton going to give him a bit of a squeeze. Ollie Jelly looking for the cutback here, looking to hang it up the inside. Little bit of a wiggle there. Stratton, of course, going to have the inside here for this triple right-hander and manages to defend. You know, a bit further back, again, Owen just now leading this kind of chase pack. I don't believe that was any specific damage from a car. I believe that was an on-track element you might have seen just kind of squirt out from the cars. Again, we'll lead back across the line to start lap number 4. Again, Stratton continues to lead here. So able to defend fairly well. But I think if you're Stratton, again, just how much do you have in the tank? As again, you can see that ERS draining rather quickly. And again, Kendrick's just in there with a chance. And just able to stick on the back. Formula Jonah surprisingly diving into the pits again. He's down there in 18th. Again, I think at this point, whether he got damage early on that first lap or some other, Stratton going to defend here. Ollie Jelly looked for the move, tried to tuck back in. Stratton moved at the same time and just stayed in his way. Ollie Jelly, though, going to have DRS advantage here again, though. As here he comes, looking to the outside once again as we get into turn 8. We'll get this helicopter shot. Ollie Jelly ahead. Stratton a little bit braver on the brakes. Jelly going to keep him tight, though. Try and get him on the exit. His contact there. Ollie Jelly managing to come out in front, though. Viperize looking for a way past. He's going to go down the inside of Stratton. That door going to close, though. And you can see that little wiggle there. For the drivers managing to keep it clean as we go into the hotel bridge there. We'll start lap number 5, and Ollie Jelly retakes the lead now. And again, you can see a couple of drivers chasing there. Speedy Gunner certainly in the picture. Strakosaur not too far behind as well, leading the Aston Martins into Emre. But again, the Drivers' Championship really down to 3 cars now. So DRS going to open back up here. Now it's going to be Stratton, the chase car. And again, I think if you're Kendricks, you're happy to just kind of sit behind, let these drivers fight, especially if in the early stages here. Viperize isn't going to battle too much. It does seem that Owen, Gabicho, and Speedy Gunner behind, looking to work together a little bit. Maybe try and catch this lead pack. As we'll see, will the V-Carb defend? There's another move coming for the lead as I swapped the wrong way. Stratton, though, going to back out. Gabicho making the move up in the P5 as Owen drops now down into 7th. Again, Stratton still putting pressure on Ollie Jelly. But again, really, these top 4 really just going at it. Trying to get themselves any possibility to get the job done. So we'll start lap number 6 here. And again, Ollie Jelly still with that lead. And perhaps ERS playing a bit of a factor here. Though Ollie kind of comfortably is there. Stratton looking to make the move, but both drivers a little bit low on ERS. Viper has taken a move to the inside, as was Stratton. And there's contact, I think, between Stratton and Viperize. Stratton going to go around. He is in the wall. So Viperize and Stratton may be coming together there. As Viperize, I think, a little bit too nippy on the power. And Stratton, once again, going to drop down to 13th. And with that front wing damage, he's going to be hoping now for a safety car of some sort, because that is significant damage. And now it's the McLarens and the Alpine going to be going at it. So how much team strategy is going to go into it for Ollie and Viperize now? As again, Kendricks just has to finish. If Kendricks finishes better than 7th, it doesn't matter what Ollie Jelly does. Kendricks will win the Drivers' Championship. But again, plenty could change. And that chase pack continues to fall off the kind of pace that these leaders have. As a gap from Gabicho to Kendricks, 2 seconds plus. As it seems they continue to fight here. Stratton going to dive into the pits as once again just has, you know, a very unfortunate day. And yeah, I mean, I'd expect Stratton to come back in Season 10 on an absolute mission, trying to take the Drivers' Championship from whoever manages to come out on top. Here's Viper Eyes looking to the inside. He's going to defend. Viper Eyes actually going to defend here from Kendricks, make sure that he doesn't get the move. He's getting backing off. Viper Eyes getting back on the power. And again, it's going to come down to, I think, strategy here. Speedy Gunner making his way past Owen, who seems to be a bit struggling here, as no DRS on his V-Carb as well. So Owen potentially starting to struggle here. Here comes Strakosaur looking around the outside as he looks to keep his Drivers' Championship hopes alive. Going to get pushed out a little bit wide there, but is going to manage to get it done. He's up into 7th now, and I think is using Avni OK, who has shown a lot of pace as well, especially as those hards start to become stronger and stronger. But that isn't done. Eric Too Fast for you, meanwhile, picking up a 3-second time penalty due to track limit warnings. And you can see as well the kick Sauber of Bartu is back in it, but Guardian Knight down there in 12th. Again, still managing that damage he picked up in the early laps. But it's lap number 8, and again, it's these front 3 who are just in their own race right now. And again, you got this chase pack who's all looking very, very tight. But again, will they end up making a difference now? As DRS once again for Viper Eyes, who's going to go to the inside, trying to break the toe from Kendricks. Now kind of goes to the middle of the racetrack. Here comes Kendricks looking to the outside, into the chicane. Going to try to sweep it around the outside. And this could be a big advantage for Ollie Jelly, but Viper Eyes, good exit there. Again, manages to keep it close. As again, just not quite enough there. Guardian Knight picks up a 3-second time penalty due to track limits as well. But Viper Eyes seemingly pulling out all the stops to try and get give his teammate the best opportunity possible. As again, Gabicho leading this chase pack. Speedy Gunner was able to get Strakosaur there. So Speedy still with a good bit of pace. Understeers a little bit there, so Strakosaur potentially with the opportunity to send a move, but not quite going to find it in what is a very challenging Sector 3. As again, this chase pack super, super close. But again, I think you can start to tell those mediums starting to wear. As you can see, Owen with a bit of a brief moment there, as he had to get out of the way of a couple of cars checking up. But the gap to the cars in front is starting to come down ever so slightly. As Kendricks, I think, just continue, Viper Eyes is going to defend like crazy, trying to give his teammate, again, just that best opportunity in order to take the Drivers' Championship. Might be a little bit too close this time. Viper Eyes, though, I think just trying to break the toe any way he can. They'll tuck in. Kendricks looks to the inside, forces Viper Eyes defensive. Again, just nothing coming from it there. And Kendricks doing a really beautiful job at managing ERS. Not really attacking at all. I think he's happy to let the drivers out in front potentially use their ERS a little bit more. Ollie Jelly has used loads of ERS. So he might not even have the opportunity to break away. Here's Avni OK now having to defend from Gabicho, as Gabicho with DRS here. But we got a hard tire runner up into P4 and securing it. So again, those hard tires here on lap number 9 continuing to grow stronger and stronger as this race continues. And of course, Strakosaur there in the background, who of course for P2 has to beat Ollie Jelly outright, as they are currently tied on points. Of course, 22 points adrift, again, of Kendricks, who currently sits there in 3rd. Yellow flag there in Sector 3. That is for Boaks, who has gone round. So the Red Bull losing it there in Sector 3. Has managed to get it back underway. So no safety car seemingly, and no significant damage, at least no significant visual damage to the Red Bull. but he'll still dive into the pits here. And again, I think really struggling there. He'll get a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. And so that's most than likely Boakes' race over. But jumping up back to the front, again, Ollie Jelly still continues to lead as we inch closer and closer to the stop window. Again, for all these medium tire runners, I'd expect around lap 13 realistically, as Strading receives a 3-second time penalty due to track limits as well. Again, lap 10 here. And you can see that kind of chase pack starting to edge that little bit closer. 2.5 seconds now, the gap. As Avni and Strakasaur look to get closer and closer. Owen, meanwhile, has created a bit of a gap for the medium runners behind, as Gabicho has managed to stay, kind of latched on to the 2 cars out in front. Ollie Jelly here, actually going to dive into the pits very early here, as he's getting very aggressive. He thinks that the mediums are done here, and of course the hards, definitely a strong tire, and so now it's on Viperize here to defend. Owen, Eric, and Speedy also opting to dive in, but now it's going to be Viperize's job to try and hold up Kendricks as much as possible to try and pick up an advantage. It's hard tires for all the drivers that dove into the pits now. Ollie Jelly out of the pits cleanly, and he'll have plenty of clean air to get those tires up to temperature. But now it's a matter of how big of an undercut can he get. Viperize going defensive here, looking to defend, again, just defend any way he can. Just try to get Avni and Strakasaur closer. But could this as well force Kendricks' hand? Could he dive into the pits here? Kendricks, though, going to go on the offensive. He's got DRS. He's going to go around the outside. Viperize going to try and do everything he can, but Kendricks takes the lead here on lap number 11 with DRS assistance. As Viperize is able to do a nice job defending early, but not quite able to find anything on the back half of that straightaway. And Kendricks takes advantage. But again, lap number 11, you can see Viperize still all over the back of Kendricks. D'Chal and Guardian Knight, meanwhile, continuing to fight. As Kendricks here going to dive into the pits, so Kendricks' hand may have been forced as well. We'll see if that was an early stop, or if see how early of a stop that was. Avni OK and Strakasaur now take the lead 1 and 2. Bartu and Emre are then third and fourth. Gabicho opts to dive into the pits as well. It's going to be hard compound tires across the grid. Where's Kendricks going to come out? Kendricks is going to come out, still will come out ahead, so of course decent stops there. Guardian Knight out in front. Here comes Ollie Jelly, though, who has seemingly done a very nice job with that undercut, as he'll have a comfortable advantage now. Pancakes 10 seconds for speeding in the pits, so certainly not what he would have wanted. But Ollie Jelly has done a brilliant job there, managing to open up that gap by 2 seconds. And now, of course, Viperize going to be putting Kendricks under pressure. He's going to get that move done. And so now will these drivers start to fall off? Kendrick, of course, not going to have the advantage here with DRS, but is going to have a good bit of straight line speed as Viperize not pulling away all that much. Kendricks, though, will have DRS as we come back here on to the second straightaway. Viperize, though, will now be, once again, the one under pressure. Here comes Kendricks. Is he going to look inside? He'll look outside here, so Viperize defending that inside line. They're going to be side by side into turn 8. Can Viperize hold off Kendricks this time round? He will manage to keep the Alpine at bay. As again, just trying to give Ollie Jelly as many opportunities as possible to pull away. Guardian Knight, you can see, is, still managing damage on an old set of mediums. He'll dive into pits just ahead of Ollie Jelly. But yeah, if you're Viperize, your job is now to back Kendricks up as much as possible, of course, within the rules. So it's to try to get your teammate a Drivers' Championship victory. And again, still plenty of racing left to go in this one. As Guardian Knight, again, in the pits, getting that damage fixed. He'll be making his way back out onto circuit. But of course, the 4 cars out in front of Ollie. Yellow flag in Sector 3. That is 4. I believe Boakes again with a spin. But again, managing to keep that car under control. So no safety car here. Again, Ollie comfortably there in 5th. Viperize still holding on in 6th. And now if you're Viperize as well, you might also be doing everything in your power to try and get Kendricks off of you. Though I think at this point, there's so much of a gap behind that if you're Viperize, you have to try to start considering to try and back Kendricks up into that chase pack led by Eric. Currently in P8, Viperize 3 seconds for track limit, so that'll make the challenge even harder. If he does try to stick with Kendricks and try to defend there. But it's 2.4 seconds, the gap ahead to his teammate, who, again, plenty of fresh air. Speedy Gunner steals that fastest lap for Ferrari. So, again, that's going to make Ollie's challenge that little bit harder. Eric as well, picking up the 3 second due to track limits. But yeah, if you're Viperize, you got to figure out how to, try. And, Kendricks is known for picking up track limits penalties as well. Stratting 10 seconds for speeding in the pits, and that is his day done. He'll retire that V-Carb, as again, just the day not going well for him. Avenue OK, meanwhile, will take Strakasaur for the lead. As Strakasaur, again, just looking to, try and get anything going. Again, remember, he also needs the win to potentially try and stay alive. But it seems that the hard to medium may not have been the way to go. We'll, of course, have to wait and see just how much pace those mediums have when he does opt to dive into the pits. But by the time we got to lap number 10, the leaders especially were of the opinion that those tires were finished. So how long will Strakasaur wait to swap tires? Bartu going to dive into the pits here, going to get it slowed way down. And that'll promote a couple of drivers up the order. Again, Viperize still holding off Kendricks, who actually picks up the fastest lap there, 25.666. Gabicho, though, steals it away, 25.660. So again, that opportunity for the fastest lap slipping away from Ollie Jelly. And again, it just makes the opportunity to win this Drivers' Championship slimmer and slimmer. Yellow flag is for Boakes there in Sector 2, just has not had a lot of comfortable pace in this one. Of course, is a call up there. But 15 of 29's Viperize, again, you can see defending that inside there. And again, just trying to do anything he can. Avni and Strakasaur battling side by side. As Avni just wants to try and maximize his points potential. Here comes Kendricks, though, looking around the outside of Viperize. Can he get it done? Viperize tries to go that super tight inside line, but can't manage to get it done. Kendricks takes advantage now, and now is the lead driver trying to chase down Viperize. But does this give Viperize an opportunity to try and fight with him? Boakes 10 seconds, he'll retire in the pits as well. So there's our third retirement of the race. Ollie Jelly, meanwhile, is getting held up a little bit by Emre Chetin. So that's certainly not what he would want. Strakasaur, though, making his way as the drivers up front continue to fight for the lead. And again, look at how much that time has come down from Kendricks up to Ollie Jelly. Strakasaur retakes the lead here on lap number 16, but remember, he still has to pit along with Avni OK and Emre Chetin. Ollie Jelly will take advantage here and move up into third on track. Kendrick's going to have to defend the inside here from Viperize, who's seemingly going to back off here. Viperize forcing him defensive. Here comes Viperize, though, going to look around the outside, and he'll have DRS this time. Does Kendricks have the ERS to be able to defend? It doesn't look like he will. Viperize, again, looking around the outside here. He'll comfortably be out in front. And so once again, it's going to be net Viperize and then Ollie Jelly here on lap number 16. Avni OK as well, able to re-overtake Strakasaur. So I have to see, are the leaders going to dive in? Here goes the Aston Martin. Strakasaur opting to stay out. As again, those hards become more and more of a struggle. And you can see Ollie Jelly coming through the final corner behind him. And we'll move back up into P2. So if you're Strakasaur, I think your main hope now is really, can there be anything here that brings out a safety car? I think that's what he has to be hoping for. And really, it's this battle between Gavicho, Eric, Speedy, Owen that could prove a big factor if something happens. But of course, if Kendricks can continue to come good with it, it's frankly not going to matter. Of course, Viperize with DRS here this time. He'll pop to the inside. Kendricks looking inside as well as they run into the chicane. I think just doing what he can to force Viperize defensive as they make their way into the chicane. It's going to be a good exit there. He'll push overtake a little bit there on exit, but he'll get DRS. Again, I think just trying to get Viperize to burn off as much ERS as possible. Try and close that gap to his team out in front. Viperize going to defend here. Keeps Kendricks behind this time. His yellow flag in Sector 1. Again, that's for Boaks. Actually, no, sorry. That is for Rostamol. It was the Red Bull of Boaks the other times. And this time, I was just mistaken. Shrek meanwhile, opting to continue to stay out. I think just hoping that he gets any sort of a safety car. Try and make sure that he loses as few positions as possible. But that time is winding down where he'd hold on to that advantage. Emre Chetin finally dives into the pits. So the only driver still yet to pit here as we start lap number 18 is the Alpine of Strakasaur. Bartu, meanwhile, sets a new fastest lap for Sauber, 25.6 flat. Would give him an extra point, but in the grand scheme of things, would not matter. As it is now, McLaren versus Alpine. Viper, as you can see, defending there in the background, trying to do anything he can to break the Totoa. Kendricks ends up settling into that that kind of middle defensive line. We'll kind of go back to the outside of the racing line once it seems clear. Kendricks not going to make a move. Again, it's trying to make sure that you get that best exit possible. And Kendricks not getting the greatest drive here, but he will have DRS. He'll pull closer. He'll pull closer. And as we get to the braking zone, not going to put a move in. As again, Kendrick's just doing a very nice job of knowing where he sits right now. As that P4, a very comfortable, very good spot to be in. Meanwhile, Gavicho, Eric, Speedy, Owen having a nice fight here for P5, which of course would become P4. Strakasaur, again, still just staying out, trying to hope for some sort of safety car. Yellow flag, that is for Dechal, who I believe went round there. No damage on track, though. As Abney K sets the new fastest lap, 25.1. So again, the laps, the chances, just continuing to fall away from both the drivers who currently sit 1 and 2 on track. For lap 19 here. And they'll plunge down into the banking again. You can see Ollie there in the background. Kendricks did manage to overtake Viperize there. As again, that gap coming down further and further. And this time Viperize again not able to re-overtake into turn number, I believe, into turn number 8 or 9. And again, that gap continuing to close up. It's down to just over a second now. Just about a second and a quarter. As you can see, Ollie Jelly's McLaren just up in front. Strakasaur again continues to stay out. There's Ollie Jelly, there's Kendricks, and there's Viperize. Of course, Viperize the only one here without a definite stake in the Drivers' Championship with this final round. Strakasaur just doing everything he can to hold out. That hope may be just running out here as Ollie Jelly closing up to within DRS range now. Viperize sending a move down the inside of Kendricks. And of course, will he have DRS advantage now? He will. Again, the gap opening up to a second and a half. Kendricks tucking in. But Viperize is going to have the opportunity to save a little bit of ERS. Kendricks, I think, showing that inside jerk, but not quite having any move to make. He'll pop to the outside now, and of course he'll have DRS this time, and he'll comfortably make his way through. Ollie Jilly, though, DRS on Strachosaur ahead from the Jonah, 3 seconds due to track limits as his day just has not gone well. Lap 20 of 29. And Ollie into the back of Strachosaur here. As the Alpine very stricken, Ollie Jelly super impatient to get past. You can see all the contact that's happening between the McLaren and the Alpine. That gap continuing to close up as Strachosaur looking to dive into the pits here, and there's contact there. Strachosaur looked to dive into the pits. Ollie Jelly left it too close, and that will likely do it. As Ollie Jelly just way too aggressive there, and he's actually going to retire, and that'll bring out the safety car. Ollie Jelly, of course, had that issue earlier. But yeah, that's just on Ollie Jelly being impatient. So that will more than likely do it. So Viper is asking softs or mediums. I think it's going to be pretty close here. But that should just about do it. Strachosaur, of course, getting the safety car he'd be hoping for. Guardian Knight drive-through for speeding under safety car. So Guardian Knight's Drivers' Championship chances are over. So now it's Alpine versus Alpine. So yeah, Viper is definitely going to be a coin toss between softs or mediums. Alpine's actually going to double stack here. Guardian Knight going to lead the session. So we are officially now down to 2. Viper actually manages to get by Kendricks coming into the pit. So a cheeky move there from the McLaren. He'd get him anyways. But he'll slap on mediums. And will come out in second. Where does Kendricks come out? He'll come out just ahead of Bart. He'll come out ahead of Bar 2. He'll come out in 5th. So in a comfortable spot there. But it's going to be Abney OK leading from Strachosaur and Viperize. So, under safety car here. Strachosaur with an opportunity. But again, it's a very slim opportunity. Yeah, I noticed, yeah. I noticed the rage quit there. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's got to be on Ollie there. I don't think, you know, especially with how old those tires were. I'm actually going to go recheck the footage here. But yeah, that's an intentional crash from Ollie anyways. But yeah, I mean, you know, again, especially with how old those tires were, the tires on Strachosaur's car were, and just, you know, again, with how impatient Ollie was, again, I think it's all on Ollie in that instance. You know, again, Ollie against a car that is on way older tires who was clearly in that instance trying to dive into the pits. I think that's got to be on Ollie. Yeah, again, I don't think that he is excessively slow through the hotel section in Sector 3. Again, I think it's more just, hey, I got to slow it down because I got to, again, old tires, and now I have contact from behind. But yeah, that's Ollie Jelly just getting too desperate, trying to send it down the inside at the wrong moment. And as much as I can get why he's being super aggressive there, I'm sorry, that incident is on Ollie Jelly. Stratting as well, saying that Viper is saying Stratting spun on his own as well in the early laps there. Again, it just depended on the camera angle. As I think Viperize had me a little bit, I had Viperize a little confused just because of how the camera angle looked. What was happening? Ollie, mate, that's on you. Like, he's on 20-lap old hard tires. I just watched the footage. That's not excessively slow through there, especially for somebody on 20-lap old hards, especially through a little kind of off-cambered section where, again, it might depend as well on the assists that Strakosaur is running. But then especially going into the pits, that is fully where you actually got the damage. Like, that's fully on you. He's just trying to hold on to that car to make it back to the pits. And again, as much as I understand being incredibly impatient, like, I can't put any blame on Strakosaur for driving slower than you would expect on a much older compound of tire. And again, he's doing 20. He maintained a 4-second gap. Again, yes, I would like to see both cars' POVs if you do think it's that serious. But again, if you're Strakosaur, there's no reason why, especially, if you are Strakosaur, tactically, there's no reason at that point to hold you up, create an incident, potentially, because Kendricks is already in a position where he can win, and Bro did not go. No, he was clearly following the pit entry lines. He was, again, it was the contact that led him to kind of go to the outside and go out of the pits. But yeah, he's following those pit entry lines when you're trying to go to the inside there. Again, I understand why you're impatient there, and I can understand why you'd be frustrated by it. But again, just from how that incident looked, it didn't, again, especially with how tricky I know that can be. No, he wasn't. All right. If you watch the broadcast, he's well within it until you make contact with him. So, I think, I also don't know. Also, safety car is in this lap. Like, again, just, you're making a big gamble going for an overtake like that in Sector 3 as well. Like, I can't blame Strakosaur for driving the way he did. I don't see anything egregious from it. And, again, like, especially against a driver with significantly older tires. And, again, as much as I can get being impatient, if you want to rejoin and provide footage, we can happily take a further look at it, and Strakosaur could be punished appropriately for the next season. But until then, can't say anything else on it. But we're looking to get back underway. Strakosaur going to be looking to overtake Avni OK as we will get back to green flag. As the Aston Martin getting back rolling. Lap 25 of 29 here. And we'll make our way through turn 1. Of course, Viperize is going to be putting Strakosaur under mega threat. And, of course, Strakosaur needs to win here for any shot at a Constructors. Viperize, though, down the inside. Again, if you'd like to join, if you'd like to rejoin and provide footage, we can happily have a discussion over what Strakosaur did wrong there. But again, from the point of view that I had, as Viperize retakes the lead here, though, again, with that 3-second time penalty, again, can't do anything about it if nobody's reporting, if people don't report all incidents. And again, not everybody's going to have the same opinion about certain incidents. But you're welcome to help us fix that if you believe it's that big of an issue. But Viperize retakes the lead. Abney okay, defending from Strachosaur, who's going to look down the inside. Kendricks is down to P6. But has taken advantage there. And again, that fresh set of tires doing Strachosaur wonders. As he does hold the net lead here. Of course, Kendricks, again, in a very good spot because Bartu is chasing him, but Gabicho with a time penalty, and Eric and Dachal as well with time penalties. So Kendricks not at major threat here. Owen looking to the inside of Abney is going to get it done before they reach the braking zone. As you can see, that happen out in front. But again, 14 drivers in this train here. And again, it's just all Viperize and Strachosaur. And with Kendricks, it's just trying, I think if you're Kendricks, you still try to pick up as many positions as possible just to make sure nothing else happens. But we'll start 3 laps to go now. Can Kendricks hold on? Again, has some pressure from Bartu and Eric on him. But if you're Strachosaur, it's just holding on. Kendricks taking a peek to the inside of the Haas. He'll get the wing inside, but not able to get a move done. He's actually going to lose a place to Bartu there. And he'll have to tuck back in. Once again, Kendricks now down all the way into 8th, but again, those time penalties could prove the difference. There's Eric making the move. Strachosaur, meanwhile, has taken the lead. So we are in an interesting position here. Where again, the 2 drivers ahead of Kendricks, both with time penalties, and one of the drivers behind with time penalties. But this Drivers' Championship going to come right down to the wire. 3 to go. And it's the battle between the Alpines to try and hold on here. Strachosaur, meanwhile, the pack has closed up. Owen and Abney have caught up with Strachosaur and Viperize. But again, it's Kendricks there in 8th, now with 2 to go. Yellow flag in Sector 3 is for Rostamol, but that will not bring out a safety car at this point. Got pancakes in the wall in the run down to turn 1. Again, will not cause a safety car at this stage. So we'll keep running here. Lap 28 of 29. Again, Kendricks just has to get to the line, more or less. Just keeping that Alpine safe. Getting to the checkered flag should do it. Tucked in behind the rear wing of that Haas. Very tight to the rear wing. As Strachosaur has managed to start to pull away. Kendricks looking for that inside on Gabicho. Gonna look to get it done. Still making moves despite the Drivers' Championship remaining in balance. Gets a bit loose though. Potentially getting on the curb. Manages to hold onto the car though. And we'll hold it as we go to lap 28. So it'll be 1 lap to go here. And Kendricks just has to do a little bit more to hold on. Again, the gap, 22 points from Strakasaur to Kendricks. And we'll pull up fast lap as well. As who has the fastest lap point? Hold on, apologies. Fast lap currently would go to Eric. So that would be the difference here. Kendricks, again, just holding station. Final lap of this Group 2, Season 9. Bartu looking to make the move on Viperize. Of course, both with DRS just looking to hold on. Kendricks, though, right on the back of Gabicho. He'll look to the inside. He doesn't care that the Drivers' Championship could be up for, could fall away with this move. He's still going to look around the outside. Gabicho gives him room, and so Kendricks up into P7. And is going to pick up DRS as they run now down into the banking. Of course, getting it stopped is incredibly important here. He gets it done on just a few corners left to go now. And what has been a very tightly contested race here for the finale. As we make our way now into the final couple of corners. It's one Alpine up in the front. He'll be a 3-time race winner. As it's the Sauber looking to the inside, as that's Bartu looking to make the move there. It'll still be Strakasaur coming out on top, but it won't be enough. Kendricks comes home P5 and secures the Group 2 championship. It's back-to-back for Kendricks. Strakasaur will end up in second. Ollie Jelly will end up net third. And that will do it here for Group 2 in Season 9. Bartu with a kamikaze dive at the final corner, but doesn't manage to get it done. Strakasaur, most race wins on the year, but the Drivers' Championship and the Drivers' Championship still goes to Kendricks. So, of course, congratulations to the Alpine. But again, Kendricks still the Group 2 measuring stick. Bartu comes home second. Owen ends up in third, followed by Abney, Kendricks, Viperize, Emmerich, Gabicho, Eric, and Dechal picks up the last point in the final race. But again, that'll do it. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. It was a certainly very interesting race there. Of course, we'll have a quick week break, and then we'll be back with Season 10. So hopefully you stay tuned for that. Bartu does pick up Driver of the Day with a very questionable send at the final corner. But again, despite Strakasaur celebrating, it is still Kendricks walking away with it. Eric as well picking up the fast lap. So at the end of the day, it ended up not mattering, but the Drivers' Championship ending up being decided by 7 points. But yeah, again, Strakasaur, Bartu, Owen, Abney, Kendricks, Viperize, Emery, Gabijo, Eric, and Dechal. It was a great season. 9 different race winners in 12 races, and should be another good one as we move into Season 10. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you next